What's up, guys? Welcome to Free Alpha. Before we hop into who we got with me right now, I wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what the idea is for this live stream and this podcast and why we wanted to do it at Munify. So there are so many different types of people throughout the world. And I think one of the coolest things about crypto Twitter is it really is this melting pot. And, people have incredible stories. They all come from different backgrounds and they all have different alpha or things that, help them to have success in the markets. And so we wanted to create something that was a little bit different than the standard finance, crypto podcast. We want to focus on some of these people that through their avatars and their pages, but really kind of dive in on a deeper level so that you can get to know them and what makes them tick, whatever it may be, which brings us to our first guest. And I want to give him a quick intro before we hop into it. But this is what his mom and dad sent over to me. What started out as a second grade class project has blossomed into one of the most trusted and looked to accounts on crypto Twitter. Quote, "My mommy and daddy are so proud of me. I can't believe all these people trust an 8-year-old with their money. I'm hoping my allowance will really grow this next bull run so I can buy more toys." With that, everybody, welcome. Bongo. What's up, man? How are you doing?
I can't believe you spoke to my mom and dad. That's amazing. That's how they describe me.
Proud of you, by the way. Very proud of you. We're happy that you could get time off of school to meet today. But what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be here. You're a very beautiful man with a beautiful face. So I'm glad to spend my time with you.
Oh, love that. We need the marketing team. Take a clip of that, please. And we'll cut
just
that
that
later.
Just that bit. No other, nothing else. Just beautiful man. That's it.
I love it, man. Got to tag my wife as well. Cool. Well. Oh no! Now I'm starting to get a little bit of an echo.
There's a little bit of an echo going on.
Okay, let me see if I
whispering doesn't help.
Okay, I think
quieter.
I think this is good. Guys, this is the first live stream. We're figuring these things out. And full disclosure, you don't want to hear me talk all the time. And I tend to talk too much. And so Free Alpha is actually going to have many people who will be reoccurring while we, invite other people from crypto Twitter, other facets of the market, whatever it may be. And, Dreadbongo is going to be one of those guys with me. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of like dive into, Dread, as we get started, you were telling me about kind of like walking through a bookstore with your wife the other day. And I thought it was something that was like super fascinating. And I think it's like a good entrance into where we want to take this. So take it away.
Yeah, so we were in London, and we were in this. People in London know there's a big bookstore called Foyles. It's quite famous, and it's got like 1 million floors, and there's a book for every single person in there. But we was in the finance section, and there was a book, and it was one of these, how to make. I made $1,000. I started with $1,000, and I turned it into this much money. And it was the first time in my life that I kind of felt like I had a story to tell, because this guy had done a similar thing to what I had done. And I felt like, well, if he can write a whole book about this, then maybe there's something to what I've done, because I've always just kind of felt like what I've done over the past couple of years is unremarkable, Like we've all done similar things, but like all I've done is just sat in a chair, read loads of information, made some decisions based on it. And then it's kind of worked out pretty well,
Yeah.
But then it made me think, well, it's not that people don't do that often, and maybe there is something a little bit remarkable about it. But it's the first time it kind of clicked in my head that I felt like, oh shit, I've actually like achieved something pretty cool here,
Well, that's, it's it's what made me really want to like do these live streams and these podcasts because, kind of like the old form of media, what it is you have people that, accrue wealth, right? You have these people like Warren Buffett that everybody knows, or other, big time
Who's
investors.
he?
And like, yeah. and what we get is the how-to books, or this is how I did it, right? Where they condense this kind of like, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year history, whatever it may be. And it like, it almost has this air of, wow, these guys did something truly incredible because they did. But when the only access you have is, these books or, traditional media, it also makes it seem like, oh, that will never happen to me. And like, amazing about this space is everybody has like an incredible story. Everyone has had that thing where it's like, you put in the time, you put in the effort, you put in the work, you take the right risks, and you accomplish these same things, and that was kind of one of the foundations of why we wanted to build Munify was, it was just like, man, if we could get rid of the old media of like, here's how I did it, and you can provide this like ecosystem where it's like, you can learn from the next Warren Buffett right now, right? Like we might look back in 20 years and Dreadbongo might be known as one of the greatest investors and traders in the world, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, well, I don't want to know what you're doing 20 years from now. I want to know what you're doing right now. And so, from this kind of like, before we get into, the markets and how you got into crypto and everything, I would love to get a little bit of kind of like your backstory, like growing up, were you interested in like finance as a kid? Did you study finance and economics? And so this was a natural leeway, like, what was your background? And what were you like as a kid?
So I just want to touch on something quickly you just said, because the whole, the Warren Buffetts of the world and the people who really are successful, they're writing these books and, you aspire to be like them. I feel like the world's changed because those guys came through a very rigid system. They're hedge fund managers, or they worked in Wall Street. They actually went to Wall Street and they worked there. Whereas like right now we live in a world where you don't have to do that shit. And crypto is this whole different beast where you can sit in your dingy little room and make something of yourself. So like, it's kind of changed. Like listening to the Warren Buffetts of the world, you can still do that and probably still have some success. But there's this kind of new breed of investors who are finding success and doing things a completely different way to what those guys have done. And they're kind of, and they probably have a similar story and a similar setup to what you have. So,
well, and that's, it's funny because I care, I would care more about like the advice or what was Warren Buffett doing, just to continue with this example, when he was just starting out, or when he had a portfolio that was similar size, to what I'm working with, because him managing billions and billions of dollars, it was funny because back when I was like working my job a couple of years ago and investing in crypto, I would have colleagues that would, tell me things, or like friends and family, and they would give me, investment advice, or they'd be like, well, so-and-so says you should do this, and this is how you should allocate. And it's just like, yeah, well, so-and-so also can't move around as quickly as I can, because that's the biggest benefit you have to be in a small account. And they're probably not going to take a risk on some of these early stage companies that I am, in crypto. And it doesn't mean they're right and I'm wrong. All it means is our portfolios are at a completely different place. And so we need to employ different strategies to get to that next level. But it's funny because, everyone's just like, oh, here's what, Warren Buffett's strategy is, right? And managing, again, billions and billions of dollars. Here's what I'm going to do with my tens of $1,000s in the stock market. And it's like, that's fine. And you'll probably have somewhat of a decent return, but you're not going to become what Warren Buffett is employing the strategy that he's employing right now, because you're completely disregarding, the growth that had to happen. And that's the big thing, is a lot of times in these these how-to books, or when we look at these titans within the investment world and where they're at right now, we take what they're saying and we take their advice, whatever it is, and it's like, oh, we need to apply this across the board. And it's absolutely not true, because they probably, I would bet, my reputation, my portfolio, not my family, because my wife is watching this, love you, babe, but like I would bet a lot of things. And, on the fact that they probably didn't have the same strategy when they started out as they do right now.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, it's just funny, like financial communication and things in the space. It's just really interesting what's considered right, what's considered wrong, what's considered good advice, bad advice, whatever it is. But anyways,
but the thing is as well is like people come and they start from completely different circumstances, right? Yeah. Circumstances matter, because Warren Buffett, say what you want about him, he's American, right? Yeah. As far as I'm aware, he's American. Yeah. He may say differently, I don't know, but he's American, started in America, and even if you're a poor person in America, you still have a huge leg up on someone who's starting in Nigeria or someone, right? So like someone who is on the poorer end in Nigeria, who picks up Warren Buffett's book and says, you need to do all of these things. Maybe it's not even possible, Yeah. Yep. It's a completely different circumstance. So you can't just apply it, like a blanket, apply it across every single person. It's different. And I feel like with crypto as well, it's like it's global, Crypto is completely global. Someone could pick up an account, an influencer type account, whatever you want to call them, and you're definitely going to find someone who has a similar circumstance to you somewhere.
And that's the biggest thing is, what I have seen is when people are successful, it is when they can pair themselves with somebody with a similar, situation, risk allocation mindset, whatever it may be, because it fits their style, right? Because there's some investors that are like incredibly, degen, risk on, let's go for it. And other people can't sleep at night. And it's, it's one of those things where it's just like, it doesn't mean that the super high risk on strategy is wrong. It just means it's probably not the right fit for you because you're not going to be able to stick to the strategy because you're going to stress, you're going to overthink, whatever it may be. And so it's all about like, okay, how do you find those people that are in a similar situation, similar mindset, whatever it may be, so that you can truly start learning from them. And that's like the whole idea with this, right? Like, that's why I want to get your backstory and who you are, so that people can be like, oh, this Dreadbongo wasn't the guy that, started with a $2 million loan from mom and dad and, and ballooned that, right? It's, that seeing what you came from and who you are will inspire somebody else, but also show them like, oh, maybe this is the type of person that I should be following because that's me, just a few steps ahead. So yeah, man.
So, I mean, how it all started was I had a £2 million loan from my mum and dad.
Yeah.
And then, I love that clip of Donald Trump, by the way. Just a small loan, $1 million. It's hilarious. So like my background before all of this is quite again unremarkable. Like I always get asked by people, what did you do before this? Did you work in finance? Did you have a background in it? And the answer is no. Like I was kind of a naughty kid in school. I didn't really, care that much. I didn't really care about learning that much. I was the naughty kid. My year 6 report, which is like the last year before you go to big school, right? And the report, the teachers have to write like a little report. How did he do over the year? And the report, my mum was so disappointed. It just said, Dredd thinks he's the class clown. And his attitude is very erratic and influences the other children. So I've always been an influencer, apparently. Like, yeah. So I didn't care. I didn't really care about school that much. And because of that, I didn't really get any good grades. I went straight into work when I was like 16 because I just felt like I wanted to get money. So I didn't go to college. I didn't go to university. I didn't do any of that stuff. But when I got into my kind of teens, I really started to enjoy learning. Like strangely, after I left school, I was just like, yeah, learning's pretty cool. So I started getting into it late, I guess.
Yeah. So you liked learning. It was just the education system didn't fit you. It wasn't the fact that,
yeah. And I have issues with the education system, but we won't go into that. But like,
save it for another part. Yeah,
we'll save for another one. So yeah, like I went straight into work, and for a long time, I just paycheck to paycheck, pretty unremarkable jobs, just going out partying, that sort of thing. I met my wife when I was pretty young. I had my daughter when I was pretty young as well. My daughter, I had her when I was 20. So, and I'm in my 30s now. So I had her when I was young. And once you have a child when you're young and you haven't got the career ladder going and all of that stuff, life gets quite hard, because I was just working minimum wage jobs and I was having to provide. And you just get stuck in this cycle of paycheck, supporting your family, paycheck, supporting your family, that sort of thing. And my wife has always been very ambitious, and she rubbed off on me in a big way. Let's watch it. She rubbed off on me in a big way. And
marketing team. Cut this one.
So yeah, we started trying a lot of things, and we started trying a lot of like, what if I tried to get a career in plumbing, or what if we tried this, or what if we tried that? And a lot of it, none of it worked. Like, we just kept failing. We kept getting rejection after rejection. Things just didn't really work out. And as things got further along, I tried starting my own video game website when I was like 20. I can't remember, like 23, maybe 24. It was around. I'm not going to say.
No, you got to say, dude. You can't say I'm going to start something and then not. Listen, I at one point wanted to start because I'm like, man, people are so self-conscious about their underarm, sweat. I'm like, I want to make pads. Everyone knows the word swass, but I'm like, we can call these switties, and they'll take in all the sweat. I'm so embarrassed about it. Like, I try not to talk to anybody, but like, so if I can talk about switties on an open podcast, you got to give me the name, man.
Because if that was in the UK as well, we would call them switties. Because you got switties.
Exactly. Dude, that's
even worse. Switties. So it never took off, no?
It's just one of those things where I think I sat down with my wife and she was just like,
what are you doing?
Is this really what you want to dedicate? Actually, it was when she told me, like, maybe we should focus on something else, when I really started focusing on crypto. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you, wife.
You dodged a bullet.
Yeah, but you're not getting out of this. So you started trying to do a game company. What was the name?
It was Daily Gaming Network.
Oh, dude, Daily Gaming Network. I love
very
it.
Generic. Very
DGN.
generic.
DGN, dude.
DGN. There we go. But it did pretty well. Like, it did pretty well for a while. We got into the top 100, top 100,000 websites in the world. And it was the first like little bit of taste of success that I had, because I was like, this is kind of working. I created something from nothing, and it's kind of working, which is pretty damn cool. But trying to run a team when you've got no fucking money is kind of hard. And everyone just kind of goes, I don't want to be part of that anymore. So that was that. But yeah, like we tried a lot of stuff. Over the years. I even tried, some YouTube stuff, and none of it really worked. I always had this hustle mentality of like, I'm going to work, but I'm going to do something else on the side because I want to get out of my work. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And just various stages of things not working. Went to I started doing a thing called matched betting. You know what that is?
No.
Okay, so I'll do the quick description. So matched betting is where you're trying to kind of game the system, right? So you taking advantage of like free bets that bookies give you. So online bookies. So an online bookie will be something like bet £10, get a £20 free bet, right?
Yep.
And you would kind of game the system where you would both lay the bet and short the bet. So you would bet both sides of the equation. You would have, it's a whole thing. Anyway,
Totally.
I was making little bits of money from that. So I was kind of hustling through that sort of thing. And funny enough, I was going through that whole system, that whole match betting system, and someone in the forums of the match betting mentioned this thing called cryptocurrency, and it was mid 2017, and it was a funny little project called BitConnect, right? And the video was from Trevon James, which people who go back, they'll know who the fuck Trevon James is.
Yeah, go
okay,
YouTube it. Yeah,
go YouTube Trevon James. Okay, but he was shilling this thing called BitConnect, and the whole thing with BitConnect was you'd get loans, right, and you get payments on the loans, and it was like you'd make so much money interest a day, right, and it would compound. And I looked at it and I was just like, wow, this sounds fucking incredible.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't know anything about cryptocurrency. I'd heard of Bitcoin. Well, actually, I'd heard of Bitcoin back in 2012. And
wild.
A friend told me about it. A friend was telling me about investing in it. I didn't know how to invest in anything at that point. I've never, ever done it before. We was reading it all up. It seemed quite difficult. And we really didn't have a lot of money back then. Like we were, for most of my 20s, we were just broke. Like no spare money at all, going into overdrafts. And I was saying, well, why don't we just put like £100 into Bitcoin? Like, why don't we just do it? And at the time we decided, well, we'd rather just spend that on shopping, on food, you know, because we need to eat. Like, so we didn't buy the Bitcoin, and I've regretted it since. But so we got to 2017, and this BitConnect thing sounded pretty cool. So I started looking into it a bunch, and I was like, wow, it sounds like everyone's making bank. All these YouTubers are making bank. Everyone's getting rich. This sounds incredible. And then I went on their Reddit, and everyone was just like, bro, this is a scam. Yeah, like this is a straight up scam. And it worked out like if you did this for 2 years, you'd have like fucking 50 billion pounds or something like that, which was just like, at that moment I was just like, oh yeah, this is really fucking dumb, right? And there was a video from Data Dash, again, old school Data Dash on YouTube, and he did a video about BitConnect, and he was just like, yeah, this is probably a scam. And because I clicked on his video, I then went onto his playlist, and there was a bunch of videos about cryptocurrency. And ever since then, I just kind of went down that rabbit hole, you know, of like, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to try and get deep into this world. And that's kind of where it started. It was like mid 2017. It wasn't smooth sailing from that point, but that was like the entry into it. I always had this kind of side hustle mentality, always wanted to get out of the grind. And, crypto kind of fell into my lap through other things. It's BitConnect.
You know, it's so interesting because like, so I did study finance and economics, and, you know, I'd always been really interested in like investing. And, you know, when I was going through school, I had job offers at like investment banks, you know, private equity firms, hedge funds, and like, just the kind of like the culture in finance didn't sit well with me. It was one of those where I'm like, hey, I want to learn how to like make money at the click of a button, but also like, I don't want to be, you know, working 100+ hours a week, you know, like destroying my life and my family. And living in this kind of like cutthroat world where it's, you know, there's a lot of gray area, and like, is what you're doing ethical or not? And so it just didn't sit well with me. And I had this mentor that told me like, oh yeah, you know, like, well, why would you go work there? Like, there's so many resources, you can do it yourself. And so like, I started investing in currencies, right? And I was kind of like in Forex, and, you know, it's super liquidable. I think like with my background in like macroeconomics, like currencies were easier for me to kind of like look at than like traditional stocks or anything. And, you know, I have a bunch of friends from Russia and Ukraine, and I saw them talking about Bitcoin all the time on social media. And it was just like, it's like, man, like what, what is this Bitcoin? Like, what are they talking about? And I kept watching them, where they would talk about, it's just like, man, like Bitcoin, it's, whatever it was, $4,000, 5,000. Then it's like Bitcoin's $8,000, Bitcoin's 12,000. It's like, I'm like, man, maybe I should be like looking at this. But it's funny because, for me, I feel like most people get into crypto because it's a situation where it's just kind of like, I think a lot of people get into crypto because it's like, how can I get rich quick? Right. And it's just like, they hear the story, especially right now, they hear the stories. Everyone's heard the stories of someone that's gotten rich. And that's why, Dogecoin is so appealing to like the masses, because they're like, man, like if Dogecoin did what Bitcoin does, and and it goes up to $20,000, I'm going to be rich, and they're not even taken into it because they just think of it as a cryptocurrency, and they're just like, yeah, all cryptos are the same, but it's funny because that was the same thing for me, where it was like, well, I don't want to buy Bitcoin, and it's like, oh, this Litecoin looks good, it's much cheaper, and I can buy a couple of whole Litecoin. But then as I dug deeper and deeper, I feel like you get in because you want to make a lot of money fast. And then inevitably you get burned. Like if you're in crypto long enough, like the crypto market's going to teach you a lesson. And it's just tuition that you're paying to learn these lessons.
Oh, that's the next part of my story.
So. Okay. So all I was going to say is, it's after I got burned, then you start actually looking into like the technology and kind of like seeing who was invested in. A big one for me was I saw, Peter Thiel, right, who was an early PayPal guy, like really big here in the US, has done incredible things. I saw he was invested in like RSR and some other tokens. And it's like, well, man, if this dude is willing to invest in this must be something here. And so, yeah, let's dive into the second half of your story, the burn phase.
But yeah, the burn phase. So 2017, you remember 2017, right?
Yes. Vividly.
It was great. It was great. Like 2017 was so much fun. For people who are newer to the space, like there was something so pure and special about 2017. It felt like
it was the Wild West, man. It was crazy.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. It felt like the final years of like the Wild West,
Yeah.
It was amazing. And like stuff, a project would change its logo and pump like 400% or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like a new website.
And it was just crazy because it was like what attracted me honestly to crypto was the fact that it was like crypto Twitter and sharing in that craziness with everyone, where it was just kind of like, we're all strapped into this rocket that we know it's just like something's going to happen and we're all on this ride together. And so
that's what it feels like. It felt like you were doing something that the rest of the world just hadn't even, they hadn't heard about it yet. They hadn't heard about it. It's this new thing that only you really know about and all these other people on the internet. And it felt so pure. It felt like exciting. It was exciting, right? And like 2017 was like the discovery period. And it was okay, let's do what every single person does. So it's, I hadn't really like going on Twitter, but YouTube was a big one. So like follow all these big YouTube accounts, get into their Discords, get into their Telegrams, whatever, and try to understand like as much as you can about crypto.
Yeah. And
you learn all the wrong things. Like everyone, when they first get into crypto, everyone learns the wrong things.
Everything you shouldn't learn. Yeah.
Exactly. So so through 2017, I got really heavily into scalping. So I was like, let's learn how to trade. And I found a video and he taught me about scalping. If you don't know what scalping is, it's basically trading, but super fucking risky and super dumb. So you would take like, say you've got like a portfolio, let's say 100% of your portfolio, you would take like 95% of your portfolio, enter it into a trade, and you would try and get in that trade and get out within a couple of minutes. And
you're looking for momentum. You're just looking for a tiny move where it's like, how can I make some money over the next 5-10 minutes?
Exactly. You're looking for breakouts.
1 minute. Yeah.
Like and that was like through 2017, because we was in a bull market. I didn't even know what the fuck a bull market and a bear market was. I just thought crypto's going crazy. This is amazing. I'm in the rocket, like you said.
Yeah.
So I was doing scalping and it was working. Like it was working in a big way. if I just left it, if I just put it into a project and left it, I would have done so much fucking better. But I felt like I was a king because I was scalping. So I'd get in. I remember VeChain. So VeChain was like,
yes,
hit the Chinese government. So it was just like, holy shit, this is big. And I remember when it first really started coming out, everyone was talking about it in the group I was in, and everyone was the sell walls. I remember the sell walls were insane, and or was it the buy walls? So there would be these huge walls anyway. So there's these huge walls, and it was like accumulation. It was just holding the price down. And I spent weeks watching these walls and watching the number come down slowly. So the wall was just getting chipped away, and then the moment the wall was about to fall, I would buy in, and then the chart would go like that, and then I would make like a couple of percent, 5%, and then I'd sell. And I kept just doing that through 2017 on a bunch of different projects. And I made a lot of money. Like not a lot of money, but like for my circumstances then. So I started with £500 that I'd made from the match betting. Started with that, and I turned it into like $4,000 or something like that. So incredible. I was so happy because that Christmas I got to like really spoil my daughter, and like I got to take I funny enough sold the top because my wife was just like, you got to take some of this money out. Yeah, we got to spend it. We got to like put it in our account and feel some security. So
always listen to the wife, man. They have that intuition. They know how to predict tops. I've definitely seen that.
Exactly. So yeah, I took a bunch of money out in early 2018, and I had like, so let's just say I can't remember how much I had. I had like $1,000 or 1,500 left or something like that, and I thought, well, if I could just keep doing this, I'm gonna do pretty well eventually. And then 2018 hit, and it was just brutal. It was just fucking brutal. And the bear market was upon us, and I just didn't know what the fuck was happening. Everything I'd learned went out the window. I didn't know how to trade. I didn't know how to invest. I didn't know how to value companies. I didn't know how to do a single fucking thing. And I just felt like a deer in the headlights. And everything that I made, I lost. Like, it was brutal, man. And my money went back down to something similar, like £500, the amount that I put in. And I felt like a huge failure, you know, like everyone does. You feel like you're a king, and then you just get the rug ripped from under you, and you're like, oh shit, that's it, you know?
Well, it's funny because, like I'm sure you look at yourself right now. I do a similar thing where you look at when you started and you just realize how much you don't know. And also, like, when you're in the market, time's accruing, it feels like nothing's happening. But when you can take a long enough, point of view, you can be like, the good and the bad, right? If you're smart and you learn from it, it makes you, so all those losses clearly, which we'll get to, have made you way more money in the future, right? And so in the short term, it was short-term pain, but you learned these really powerful lessons that you needed to be successful. And it took you to that next step. But it's funny because, like, I think back to me when I first started, and I think when I talk to people about investing or people who are starting their journey, and it reminds you of how much you didn't know. And it's kind of crazy to like look at, where you're just like, oh my gosh, where people look at things and they think, like, okay, the upside is essentially, infinite, right? But downside, right? It's like, oh man, this is down, 99%. It was $100. Now it's $1. It's like, there's a lot of opportunity. And it's like, that can go down another 99%. Like, just, like, it's like that 99%, whatever that value is today, it can keep going lower, and it's one of those where it's like, I feel like crypto, better than any market, teaches people that, because it's insane to me. I would say probably 90% of the most successful investors, traders within the industry have at one point made crazy money and then lost the majority of it, right? Because they have that powerful lesson that teaches them, like, okay, I need to take profits here. Here's how I need to value things, whatever it may be. Wow, you just didn't like that, so you just pieced out. You're just like,
no, I was
like, I can't. I was kidding.
My eyes.
But it's one of those things where it's like I saw a video the other day, and they were talking about XRP, and this isn't hating on XRP in any way, and this isn't an opinion on the value, but this guy was talking about I think it was on TikTok, and he was like, man, I've been going through this, and, I don't want to just like pump people up with zero disregard. And I think, honestly, the minimum expectation we should have, he's like, I think we could get to 10,000 per, coin, but probably $1,000 per coin is more realistic. And it's crazy to me because I want to throw my phone against the wall, because it's like $1,000 a coin on XRP. Like, it was funny because someone on TikTok stitched with it, and they were just like, do you realize that would put XRP at like a 50 trillion market cap? And they're like, all of the world's assets together are 100 trillion. That's what this video was saying. I haven't verified or checked this, so if I'm wrong, guys, like, it's not me, it's the TikTok guy. Okay. But but he was like, you are thinking worst case scenario, XRP is going to be worth half of the world's assets, but those are the things when you're brand new that you don't think about. You look at Bitcoin, and, back in the good old days, man, a couple of, whatever it was, a year ago, 2 years, feels like 20, when Dogecoin was like half a cent, and everyone's like, wow, if this pulls off what Bitcoin does, and they don't take into account supply. They don't take into account any of these factors. They just view it as, this is cheaper, I'm going to buy it, when, what they should be looking at is, overall market cap, right? And fully diluted valuation. I can't speak, but so, it's
that is everybody who gets into crypto. Everyone makes that same mistake.
It is the number one mistake that, like, if, man, marketing team, stitch this, we're going to make a great video. If you are brand new to investing, whether it be crypto, stock markets, whatever it is, stop looking at price. The price does not matter. Look at market cap, because something with a $10 price could be worth less than something with a $1 price. If, the $1 had 1 million tokens and the $10 only had 10 tokens, right? The price doesn't matter. What matters is market cap. Back to you, Dread.
And circulating supply.
Circulating. In crypto, circulating is something you always got to pay attention to. Release schedules, cliffs, fall-offs. So many things, guys, that you got to pay attention to, that when you're starting out, you're just looking at the price going up, and then in the bear market, you're just like, what was working is no longer working. And so you have two options. Either you leave and it's a scam, and you can tell yourself that you got scammed, this sucks, this money was taken from me, or you can figure out what you did wrong and what you need to do better next time. Because, it's one of my biggest, right before I quit my job, I have a really, really good friend, awesome guy. And like, he really wanted to like help me out, because he was a little bit older. He was like a mentor to me, just like incredible dude. And I love him. And we sat down, and he was telling me like, hey, you're being scammed. And this was like right before things were like really taking off. And like, not to mention at that point, I had grown my portfolio to be like multiples of my salary. Right. And it's not something that you walk around, telling people, where it's like, this is how much I'm worth. Like, nobody cares. Right. And so, I would just be like, I'm invested in crypto, but he sat me down, and he was just like, I'm just afraid you're going to get hurt, and had no idea where the portfolio was at, where it's like, dude, I could retire right now if I wanted to. But he like pulled me aside, and he was like, crypto's a scam. And he's like, look at all these things that are happening. And he's like, just like Forex is a scam, and it blew my mind, because I'm like, you think currencies, we're not talking crypto right now. You think currencies, right? Forex, the British pound, the US dollar, how they're, trade against each other. You think that's a scam. It's like, That is what the world functions on. There is more liquidity in the currency, market, Forex, than anything else. Are there scams in Forex? Absolutely. Are there people with automated trading bots that are going to guarantee you, 50% a month or whatever it is? Absolutely. It's the same thing with crypto. There are scams within crypto. There are scam companies within crypto. There are malicious people who want to take your money. The industry is not a scam, and you need to educate yourself on how to avoid it. But it's so funny how people can like title things. And what I've noticed is anytime you're in an economic downturn or a bear cycle, whatever it may be, everyone has the option of, do I blame myself or do I blame everyone else, right? Was this a scam? Or do I need to look at where I messed up and make sure that I don't do this again, right? And so, I'm sure with your story, you had that same point.
Like continually reassessing yourself, what you're doing is so important in this game. Like it really is, because I've made every single mistake in the book. Like if you had a crypto book of like what to avoid, what not to do, I've probably made all of them. And that is just the nature of the game.
What were some of the biggest mistakes that you made? Not like, you don't have to go into detail, but I can tell you, like, the biggest mistake that I tell everybody, I think if you want to be a successful trader and actually, because that is a massive asset, right? Being able to know when to sell positions and potentially buy back more or whatever it may be. There are incredible traders, right? Like Trader XO, SZ, like these guys kill it. If you want to reach that level, there is a lot of time and dedication that has to happen. And so it doesn't mean it's impossible. You're just probably not going to pick it up today watching a YouTube video and you're like, oh, let me start trading. And it's funny because I think I tweeted out about this, but one of the biggest mistakes I made was, I think Binance, oh, no, this was before Binance. So I was big on Matic, I think like Loma Crypto or someone tipped off, Matic looks really good. I bought into it, had no idea what it was. It was in the bear market and it went from like half a cent or something to like 5 cents or like 1 cent to 5 cents within like a week. Right. And then immediately dropped back down, back in the good old days, but it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, Matic's really cool. Let me look into this. And, I had this. So this was my first portfolio in crypto. And, I had grown it from, we put in $1,000. I made 42,000. And then everything started tanking and I pulled out at around 8,000. Right. And so even though I had made this 800% gain, which is insane, I was looking at it as I had lost all this money because it was at 42. Right. Which is something that you got to get that mindset away. But, so I had this $9,000. I took a break from crypto and I put it all into Matic. And then I put it in a wallet. And it was, really early. I think it was like Coinbase wallet. I didn't back up my seed phrase. And one day when I was driving, I wanted to see what the value was. And so I went in, the app wasn't loading. It wasn't loading. So I deleted it off my phone and re-downloaded it. And when I downloaded, I'm like, I had to enter a username. Like I'll be able to log in. It's linked to my Coinbase. And it was gone. And like my wife still laughs about it because like I got home, I was in my office. I was like tearing my office apart being like, I know I wrote these words down because I had multiple wallets, but this one I did not back up the seed phrase. And like, I was like a caged animal, like took off my shirt, was walking around sweating, like hands on the floor, on my face, like on the floor. Like, what did I do? What did I do? Because that was more money than I had ever had in savings, right? Like it was unbelievable. And so, obviously that wallet still exists. I just can't access it. And it's funny because we know that my portfolio grew. We know that things did really well. I look at what happened in this past bull market and I was trading positions multiples higher than that lost wallet. And what do you think performed better? The lost wallet did, right? Like the simple lost wallet where it's like bought, it sat there, and it's like all of those stories that you hear about these people that make insane money in Bitcoin. It's always like, well, I lost my wallet like 6 years ago. And then I saw it popping off and I was like, wait a second. I think I used to mine Bitcoin, or I think I bought some, and then they find their wallet. Right. And so, like for me, one of the most powerful lessons is, unless you're going to go all in on trading and really dedicate your life and find a good strategy, buy and hold is probably the best thing you can do. And it doesn't matter watching the daily value. What matters is, what's on the 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year horizon. But anyways, that was way longer than it should have been. That is your experiences.
That is essentially, when trying to go through a bear market and learn what the fuck you did wrong and trying to just figure it out as you go along is like one of the most brutal lessons you could ever have in life, because like nothing challenges your ego more than a bear market and crypto and trading.
Yeah.
Nothing. Your ego will get out. You could think you're the best trader, you could think you're the best investor, you're absolutely killing it, and a bear market will fuck your ego hard. And you will be humbled, and you need it. You absolutely need that. And it's like, I needed it because I was trying to figure out, okay, scalping, it's obviously not working anymore. Now I need to figure out trading. It's not really working anymore because bear markets are brutal and I didn't know how to short. I was just trying to long everything in a bear market. And it was like, I'd lost most of the money that I'd made. And I was trying to figure out what is happening here, man. Like, what is happening? And it was the first moment that I felt like I have to change something. This is not working. And if I'm going to make this work, I have to put some serious time and dedication and actually figure out what the fuck am I doing wrong?
Yep.
And that was where I started figuring out, well, there must be projects that didn't take part in that past cycle. And there must be projects that are extremely undervalued right now. And what if you found a project like Bitcoin and held it for the next couple of years and it was extremely undervalued? So that's what I started looking for. I started doing really deep research and I started figuring out, okay, well, what is it you have to look for in a project? And what is it that matters? It's the team. It's the supply. It's what they're doing. It's the vision. It's the product. It's the technology. It's all of these things. And I stumbled across Quant. So that was my mid 2018, savior, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was funny enough because like I've told this story to friends and stuff, but we was in a Discord and one of the people in the Discord, I'd never spoke to him before, but he was like, no, there's this project and I'm accumulating it and I'm not going to say what it is, but guys, it's the shit. And I was thinking, well, I've got a project like that as well. So I'm going to message this guy, maybe a little give and take,
Yeah.
And everyone in the quant community knows this guy. He's called Luke, right? He's a fucking legend, man. And he's done super well. Anyway, we got talking and he told me about this project called Quant. And he gave me all the information and I was like, holy shit, that looks pretty fucking cool. And I gave him a project and man, I was wrong. Like my project was dog shit. It was called Winding Tree, I think. It was like decentralized air travel.
You're like, let's trade alpha, and he's giving you something incredible, and you're like, what I would compare it to like right now, where it's just like, okay, there's a really low cap meme coin that could really pop off. If they can, the dev renounced the contract, it could really, really pop off. And he's like, oh, thank you.
So he gave me gold and I gave him dog shit. So that was pretty much the trade we had there. But I started looking into quant and it was one of those things where I felt like this is so undervalued. Yeah. It's so undervalued. And it started this kind of cycle of just research and trying to figure out as much as I can about the project. I'm trying to understand it more and more. And, when you're doing research, you'll find something that you don't understand. And then you go off a completely different path and you try to start to understand that. And then there's something else on that little path that then puts you onto another path. And you've got all these little threads that keep going off and you're just going to this world of research.
Yep.
And that's what happened with quant. And I just felt like this is so undervalued. And it was the first time that I'd started like internally valuing a project.
Well,
and
so that is such a big thing. Like hearing you say that a couple of times, you know, what kind of was crossing my mind was, you know, people look at the market as, I don't know, an efficient mechanism, right? And so you see something with let's say it's a $40 million market cap, and people will look at that and say, okay, this is worth 40 million. Could it grow into 100 million, 200 million? You know, and there is that aspect, right? Like there is the investing to like buy into growth. But one of the biggest opportunities, especially in bear markets are not efficient. And like, you know, everything is going down. Obviously, there's a couple of outliers, you know, like Quant has been doing awesome. It's been a portfolio saver, but like, you know, everything moves down. And so you have things that maybe are at a $200 million market cap right now that truly are billion-dollar companies, and the market is undervaluing them, right? Like this isn't like not everything is, okay, this is worth 40 million. Do I think it could be worth 200 million? There's a lot of opportunities out there that are, wow, the market thinks this is a $40 million company, but where we're at right now is a 200 million, you know? And so, you know, just hearing you, I just had to like stop in because, you know, I think a lot of people think like whatever the market value is the value of a company, and it's not. It's not. And you know, one of the best strategies you can have is, where is the market wrong? Right. And getting in when there's panic or whatever it may be, because it's the easiest return. You know, like there are companies right now on the stock market that are worth less than the cash they have in the bank. That makes zero sense. A company, you know, with 200 million in reserves that's worth $100 million, it makes zero sense. Markets don't make sense. You know, they're inefficient. And so back to Quant, man. So you found it, you saw, you're like, this is undervalued.
Well, yeah, and like the thing that really kind of started to click was just, you know, like every project that you hear about, if you're going by crypto YouTube, right? Every single project that you find has already kind of blown up.
It's been found. Yeah.
It's been found, you know, and unless you're willing to do the research, to really dig deep and to try and find stuff, you're going to have limited success in the market because everyone's already got to the party before you, right?
Yep.
The party's already rammed. You're squeezing in. You can't get to the bar because everyone's already fucking drinking.
You're the exit liquidity, man. Yeah.
Exactly. By the time you get to the bar and it's just like, we've run out of Corona beer, whatever, right? So like, I felt like, what is a project that no one's talking about?
Yep.
Is there a project out there that no one's talking about that is significantly undervalued because no one is talking about it, right? And it has a technology that is revolutionary and going to change the game. And I set myself really high standards, you know. This is the first time that I started to like review, you know, not this is what everyone else is doing. What do I want to do? What are the rules I'm going to set myself? Where are the disciplines?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and you know, I know some people maybe are going to hear this and they're just like, okay, find something that people aren't talking about. A lot of the things that aren't being talked about for good reason. You know, like there's a lot of crap out there. Like we're not saying like, oh, just go find something that nobody's talking about and then just be early, because the market might have, you know, that sufficiently priced in and might be right. The biggest thing is find what people aren't talking about. But like you said, find that revolutionary technology, the team, the backers, whatever it may be, where you're like, there's no way. There's no way the market's wrong, right? Like
you could look at all the successful companies today, and you can apply the exact same method, the exact same metrics, everything. You know, Uber at one point was extremely undervalued. Amazon at one point was extremely undervalued. There was a bunch of people who didn't give a fuck about it. This isn't gonna Amazon. They just sell books. They just sell books.
It's now never gonna be anything.
Exactly. Now Amazon controls the fucking world.
Yeah.
You know. Like you don't get anything unless Amazon says okay, you know. Good luck, okay. Good luck trying to take on Amazon. It's just like at one point everything was undervalued, and some smart motherfuckers found it early and said, no, this is going to change the game. This is going to be revolutionary. And they put their money where their mouth was, and they were right. So why couldn't my thing was, why can't that happen to me?
Absolutely. Those
everyone needs to say that.
Yeah,
exactly. There are opportunities out there. You know, they're going to vary in terms of how revolutionary they are, but they're out there. And if you're just following the herd, then good luck, man. Like, good luck. You'll have some success, but it will always be limited unless you're willing to really step outside and do your own research and put the work in. And there is no shortcut here. You put the work in, you'll get some results. You'll get results.
That is, it's the biggest thing. Like, you know, what we were saying 10, 15 minutes ago, when things go bad, you have two options. Is it my fault? And what can I do better? Or am I being scammed? Am I a victim? Is this happening to me? You know, and people are going to take the route that they want to take. But, you know, it's just so interesting to me, because I think one of the other powerful lessons that I learned was stop caring about being right. What's really tough with crypto, and man, like massive mistakes. So I had somewhere between 10 to 20 million Matic that once they released staking, I was like, oh man, I'm going to buy a ton of Matic. You know, I've been following it. It's always been like an early love. And I'm like, staking is going to be a big catalyst, you know, like that's going to be a big catalyst to make this go. And so I had my Matic. I think everybody thought it would. It didn't really go up a ton, but I was staking all of it and I was earning something like, I want to say 30 to 50%, you know, APR, right? And it was just sitting there. It was boring. I was making money. I was making like my salary, you know, my per month pay, like every week, you know? But I saw everything else going on in the market. I saw things that were going up by, you know, 2x, 3x, whatever it is. And I'm like, shoot, man. I'm like, I could pull my money out of Matic right now. You know, I've got 16 million and I could double my money and I could buy back at 32 million, you know? And it's one of those things where it's like, never bought back, you know, because I probably moved it to a position. I probably lost some money. And then it was like, well, now my 16 million Matic that I'd be able to buy is only worth, you know, like 12 million or 13 million. And so like, let me go make my money so that I can buy back my 16 and then I'll leave it, you know? And of course, hindsight is 2020, you know, like I was a big believer in Matic. Little did I know, you know, if my wife would have punched me across the head and it's like, if you hold on to this for a year and a half, Matic's going to hit $2 plus, you know, like it would have been like, oh man, let me stake this, let me earn my whatever, you know, whatever the yield is. But I had this perception of like, I needed to be right. And then I also needed to get back. And what I have found is, you know, people that can admit that they were wrong or this was stupid and take a loss, take it under the chin and be like, okay, what am I going to do next time? They always come out ahead, you know, because they're not sitting there. And it's funny because you have people on crypto Twitter that you would act like some of these investments they have are blood family, right? You have founders that are doing extremely shady things. There's a lot of evidence that like, hey, this is a scam. You're being scammed. But they're so focused on being right, or they're so focused on like, I have to fight the FUD, right? So that like the value goes back up. And it's like, dude, admit that you like took a loss and just move on. Put it into something that's so much better, you know, like it is crazy because, you know, engagement is down on crypto Twitter. People are not focused on the market. You know, like it's just, and I get it. People don't have spare change to be spending on investing. People are worried about how am I going to put food on the table, not like what, you know, altcoin should I buy or whatever it is. And so I totally understand it. Everybody's situation is different. The biggest benefit to the market right now is it is literally weeding out and sifting the good from the bad for you, right? Like it's, I want to say it's Warren Buffett. I think so. It's, when the tide, everyone's swimming in the tide, it's when the tide goes out, you see who's swimming naked, right?
Mm.
That totally applies to companies. In a bull market, it's so hard because everyone's competing for attention, and it's hard to tell who the real builders are, who are the real teams, the real, executive, whatever it is, the real leaders who know how to build something. And it's amazing because when attention is the lowest is when circumstances are terrible. But in my opinion, this is the easiest time to also identify who are the actual builders. Who are the actual people doing things, like with you with Quant, right? The markets were terrible. Everything was, insane. And you were just like, holy cow, like, how are people not paying attention to this, but it just comes down to, are you willing to do the work and put the time in, or are you just going to be the guy that's on crypto Twitter that follows, 500 influencers, and you just follow one of them randomly because you're like, oh, they say this is going to pump. And then you have someone else saying something else. You're like, well, let me move over there. Are you going to take responsibility for your portfolio and actually want to make money? Or do you want to take the easy route and just hope that you get that lottery ticket,
Yeah. And that's what people are. People are looking for lottery tickets. That's pretty much it. And it's like, I feel like unless if you're a person who isn't willing to admit that they make mistakes, you're never, ever going to succeed. Like, ever. No successful person has never made a mistake. They always make mistakes. And it's like, you have to be honest with yourself and recognize when you make a mistake and own up to that shit. Because the time you own up to it, to yourself, is the only time when you can change and actually better yourself from it.
It's the same thing in investing. You are either going to buy too early, you're either going to buy too late and there was a better opportunity, and you're going to sell too early, or you're going to sell too late. You will almost never catch a bottom and a top unless you have Dreadbongo's wife telling you when to sell to buy Christmas presents, right? Like if you have that, like, let's get you going on Twitter, because I'd love to follow you, and on Munify, because I will subscribe. But it's just one of those things where it's like, in trading, it is not a game of like winning and losing, it's tough to explain, because obviously you're going to have winners, you're going to have losers, things go up, things go down, but you need to understand you're always going to have been able to do something better. You will never perform perfectly. So stop focusing on that. Just focus on, what could I have done better? How can I, what are the things that I can control? And how do I apply this to the next position?
And what are you good at? Like, that's another thing. Like, what are you good at?
That hurts, dude. I feel like that was targeted at me.
What are you even good at?
Yeah. What are you even good at, man?
I've been listening. I'm thinking, what is he even?
I'm getting exposed. Yeah.
But it's just like, what are you even good at? Because other people are going to have skills that are different to other people. So like, you might be fucking quality at NFTs. You might be able to discover NFTs in a way that other people can't even comprehend. I know this NFT is going to be huge because of this, this, and this. And it's like, you might be a sick trader like Trader XO, and you might be able to read those markets, read the charts, everything, and kill it that way. You have to recognize what you're good at and what you're not good at. And what I know I'm not good at is short-term trading. I'm just not. I can't. I admit that it's not my game.
It doesn't fit your style. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like, what does fit my style is just reading and figuring out, is this going to be huge in the future? The long-term play. That's what I know I'm good at. So I stay away from all the other shit. I'm not the NFT guy. Don't ask me about what's going to be the next big NFT project. I don't know.
Yeah.
But fundamentals, I have it down.
And
I don't. That's actually bullshit, because I've definitely got that wrong over the last couple.
But and that's the thing, right? And that's why we've built, Munify. That was the whole idea for the platform. It was just like, it's like, you know what? Reddit is really cool. YouTube is cool. Twitter is cool. They give you this information. But how do we build a system to get, like, on a deeper level, deeper data, whatever it may be, almost like a dating platform, right? Where you can like connect people, and you can say, hey, like all of us that suck at short-term trading, here's our corner, and now we can really like benefit from each other and help each other out because it fits our styles. Those of us that kill it at short-term trading, let's all talk over here, right? And obviously you can intermingle, but that was the whole idea. And that's the issue that I see with YouTube, with Twitter, whatever it may be. Anybody that starts their journey, what they start at is like, oh man, this guy has a ton of followers. Let me, I'm just going to buy whatever he says, and it's, I remember I would tweet things out where it's just kind of like, oh man, like taking a position just to feel something, market's down. Like, I'm going to, buy some Bitcoin, whatever it is for over the weekend. I'm talking about like, oh, let's see if it goes up or down, minor percentage. People would be like, hell yeah, bro, all in, let's get it. And it's like, dude, pull your money out. Like, I did not say go all in. I did not say like, this is the time to buy. And there's so many miscommunications. So there's
that's what I like, but that's what I like about, that is what I like about Munify quite a lot, because it's like, whenever I talk about a position, if I talk about a project or anything like that, my time frame may not match up with your time frame. So if you're discovering, say you discover an account like mine, right, on Twitter, then if I'm talking about a project, let's just say I'm talking about Aleph Zero, right? Yep. And I'm saying, well, I think Aleph Zero is going to be a huge project, okay?
And it didn't blow up over a week?
Exactly. Dread, you said last week it was going to be huge, and it hasn't moved. It's gone down, Dread. And it's just like, bitch, you're not working to my time frame. We have different time frames here, man.
Well, and you're like, I'm literally spoon feeding you. And
yes,
you just have some patience. But and that's the big thing for me too, that people don't recognize with crypto is, people talk about like, okay, we're going to decouple, right? Like crypto is going to move. Look at the global macro environment. The value of some of your projects are directly tied to the shit show that exists in the world right now. And it has nothing to do with whether your project or your investment is good. It has everything to do with our government's, financial policy, what's going on with the world, wars, whatever it may be. And so that's the other big thing is, when you're talking about like, hey, Aleph Zero, like this is a buy for me. This is a hold. Right? Like this is an investment where I'm parking a significant portion of my portfolio. Someone brand new to Twitter is like, okay, Dreadbongo, 70, 80,000 followers buying this. If it doesn't 2X within a week, he's scamming. He's scamming me. They're scamming me. He got paid to share this, and it's taking away that responsibility.
Exactly. And they're projecting that onto you. So they're saying like, you could just say, I like this project. I think it's going to be big. They're thinking, in a month's time, I'm going to be fucking rich if I buy this project.
And they're also like, man, if it blows up, I'm a genius. But if it doesn't, damn you, Dreadbongo. Like I'm coming after you because you said this, and it's like,
and the most, like the thing, there'll be the people I love on Twitter, because Twitter is literally just, I'm just putting my thoughts out there, right? That's it, right? Same with Munify, you're just putting your thoughts on the platform. That's it. But like the people are just like, I'm gonna unfollow you.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm gonna be in bed that night, like, no.
Well,
this guy unfollowed me.
Especially on a platform like Twitter, where it's like you're not even getting monetization from the fall. There is no benefit. There is zero benefit. And like, obviously, greater reach can lead to, brand deals, whatever it may be, or influence if you want to go down the route of being able to shill. A couple of people have put in some questions that I want to get to and appreciate your guys' patience. But yeah, it's, I think the biggest thing with this call is, and like I said at the beginning, Dread is going to be doing this with me. We're going to have a bunch more people on. Like these are going to be the types of conversations that you guys want to tune into, especially if you're brand new, because the best way to learn is from other people's mistakes. If we can save you from wrecking your portfolio, oh man, that would be incredible, but you have to have the discipline and the foresight to be like, this happened to them. This could happen to me. So how am I going to protect myself? Because the biggest mistake you can make, and I see it all the time, is when people think that I'm different or this time it's different. you know. Never bet against the data. You might get those outliers, whatever it is, you can always buy in later, you know. But trust me, if there's a pattern, if something has happened, if you see that everybody on Twitter is talking about, hey, things are down, you know, 90%, they can go down another 90%. They are saying that with good reason. If people are saying, you know, buy and hold, they're saying it for good reason. It's up to you whether you take that information. Okay, so one of the questions that somebody said, let's pull it up. Bongo, man, my camera's in the way, so I can't see it. Bongo, will you make a video about what you look like in a project? You said a long time you'll make us. Please, I want to learn. Please make a video. Yeah, so
please,
you know, make a video, man, about what you look into, but really quick, like what are you know 4 or 5 of the metrics that you look at when you know, kind of like stage one when you're valuing something. What are the check marks that you gotta, you know, what am I saying?
I think like that. I think no, I get what you're saying. I'll catch the ball. Don't worry, you fucking fumble it. So like, I think that's a process that like has to continuously be reassessed and will change over time. Like, and it will be based on, again, mistakes. You know, because they all matter. You could disregard one area of what you're looking for a project, one of your disciplines, and that can come back to bite you in a very huge way. And I've had that problem even, you know, this year, this past 2 years. Like I've really messed up assessing projects. But there's things that I look for is one, the vision. Okay. Every single project has a vision.
Was that aimed at me when you said you've messed up assessing projects? Was that?
I'm not gonna say, you know, maybe. Didn't name any names.
Okay. So, you know? But the vision, step one, vision.
I'll let everyone else judge.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be no, right? So like it's every single project has a vision, and every single project sounds amazing on paper. Just everything does, apart from Dogecoin and Sheep and stuff like that. Yeah. But like everything sounds amazing and stuff like that. Then you have to ask yourself, is there a team that is able to pull this off? Is there a team that is able to fulfill this vision? Motherfucker, look at him. Just, I'm talking and he just fucks off.
I got some people knocking on the door wanting to check out the office, so I had to open it. They're seeing the live stream live.
So hi, whoever that is.
Yeah.
But like, so you can have the vision. You can have the vision, but do you have the team to pull it off? Yeah. Do you have a team that is capable of pulling it off? What is their experience? What have they done before? Are they capable? Then you have to ask yourself, okay, this is the crypto side. Are the tokenomics going to lend itself to the success of this project?
Yeah.
That's an area that I've fucked up in the past year because I kind of went through a period where I disregarded tokenomics because we was in a bull market and I got cocky. But tokenomics are seriously important. And this is an area where, again, Quant had it all in the bag. They had the vision. Is it needed? Is it actually is there a problem that needs solving, and does this technology solve it? Yeah. And sometimes you see projects and they'll have a piece of technology and you think, what is this solving? What's it doing? You know,
it's funny because I'm trying to think. I think there was a book called like Unknown Market Wizards where I think his name's like Jack Schwager or something like that. He'll go around and he'll interview people that have success. You know, what did you do? And, you know, predominantly it's like in the stock market. And, you know, there was one guy where it's just like, yeah, I just find like, you know, companies that are going through like a really hard time. And I find who the leadership is, you know, the CEO, the CFO, the, you know, CTO, whatever it may be. And I start calling all of their friends and family to find out like what the integrity is of these human beings. You know, what type of people are they, right? Like, you know, he's like, I would connect with people on LinkedIn that were like schoolmates with them. And it was like, hey, what was this guy like? You know? And so, you know, where I'm getting at with this is there's so many things. There's no like secret sauce to valuing a company because there's plenty of companies that fail that have the best tech. There's plenty of companies that fail that have incredible teams, you know, just because sometimes it just doesn't fit the market conditions and they don't use their resources wisely and they run out. There's plenty of companies that have terrible tech but incredible marketing, and they end up making it, And so for me, it's all about like, you have to look at, okay, what is their marketing like? What is the ethos like? What are they selling? What is the technology? Does it actually work? Can I see that they're actually building, and then who's the leadership within the company? What kind of value are they bringing? How engaged are they with the community? But they're really, to go off of brain challenges question, there's no secret sauce. There's no guaranteed thing. And, and like we said at the beginning, sometimes you have to look at tokenomics, right? You have to look at what's the current circulating supply, because right now it might be an incredible value. And in 6 months, 80% of the supply is going to wash in, and you're going to dilute terribly, And
so there's two examples that I can personally attest to, right? There's two examples. There's one of them is Quant, okay? And I'll briefly go through this. So Quant had there is a problem with blockchains where they do not communicate. They're all built in silo. There is a need for a technology that can allow for the communication of blockchains, right? The interoperability is so important for
it's the key to mass adoption.
It's the key to mass adoption, absolutely. And Quant, that is the technology they're building. Then you look at, okay, who is building it? Now, if there was just, the team was, the CEO he used to work at fucking the supermarket and used to stack shelves, but he got the vision for this. Then you start thinking, can that guy do this?
Yeah, cool idea, but
exactly. Can he actually get into a room with banks and institutions? That's where you have to look. And Quant had Gilbert Verdian. He'd worked at huge institutions. He'd worked at banks. He'd been, in that industry. He knew the people. He was part of the game. Then you have to look at the tokenomics. The tokenomics, there's less Quant out there than there are Bitcoin, and most of them are in circulation. And there's a need. The token is tied to the technology. You can't use the technology if you don't have the token. All of that together couples with, okay, this could be pretty damn huge. The other side of it is Demetra. Okay, there's a project called Demetra. They're working on agricultural tech. Now, in the real world, they're killing it. They are killing it. They have an amazing team, loads of experience in the area. They are, gangsters with what they're trying to build. They're trying to make farming accessible to local farmers and to give them the tools that only these huge corporation farmers have. And they're succeeding. The real world adoption is there. Then you get to the tokenomics. And the tokenomics are dog shit. Real dog shit. And you go and look at Demetra's chart, and it is one of the worst charts you will ever see in crypto, because the token doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. As it is right now, it doesn't really matter. And the supply is just going to get inflated to hell over time.
Yep.
And there is a problem. There is a problem between, all of these parts, tick, tick, tick. This one big thing that does matter, the tokenomics, is a big cross. And unless all of those aspects marry each other perfectly, it's always going to have limited success. So it's like, they're too extreme. And I lost a lot of money on Demetra. And that's, I'll put that out there.
This is where all the feelings are coming from. This is the hard feeling.
Fuck's sake, Taylor, I lost it all. And I don't.
Oh, man. Guys.
But there is that when you're looking at a project, everything matters. If you're going to set yourself, what I would say is write down 5 disciplines, 5 things that matter for a project that you think matter, and then go through every single project that you're finding, and do they tick on your self-imposed guidelines?
Yeah.
Do they tick? And if one doesn't, look into it. Why doesn't it tick? Is this going to hold it back? And that's the kind of thing that I do.
And the biggest reason, I'm sure everybody has seen, like, obviously you're constantly talking about, Quant, LF0, Tau, right? Like all of these things. The reason why you also pick multiple is because nothing is ever guaranteed. Nothing is ever guaranteed. And so, the strategy is find the best opportunities that you can, put your money behind that opportunity, but also give the market time to decide whether, that company, right, give them time to build, to accomplish that vision. And if it doesn't happen over a week, it does not mean that investment was bad. But oh man, guys,
my whole thing. Sorry, my whole thing is it's not what it looks like today. It's not even what it looks like in a month's time or at the end of the year. For me, it's what is going to be the big thing, and what does the world look like in 3 to 5 years' time?
Yeah.
What does it look like? And do these technologies, are they going to be prevalent in that world? And if they are, if I believe they are, there's something there. It's worth having your attention. It's worth looking into.
Well, I guess I'll end it with one of the biggest lessons that I learned. The vast majority of my portfolio used to be in DeFi. And, I came to the big realization that I had stopped buying technology and I was just buying speculation. And the thing is, when everybody is just buying off of speculation, when things go bad, right, there's not the incentive there to stay because they're not that long-term, vision holder, whatever it may be. And so, we've said it 100 times on here, but it comes down to deciding what your strategy is, deciding what fits your risk appetite, and then listening to people who also have that risk appetite and who have been there, because that's the only way to be successful. I could keep talking about this. And the thing I love is you're a co-host, man. We're going to be talking about this so much more. Got some of the dev team here. These, they were the ones knocking on the door. We got meetings to do. We got to keep building. And, we're excited to do that. But Dread, really, really appreciate you coming on. Look forward to doing the free alpha live streams and podcasts with you. And to everybody else, these things are going to be awesome, man. These are the things that you want to learn is, from people's stories, how they did it. Like I said, learning that they are just like you and hearing the good and the bad so that you can emulate and copy and hopefully avoid some of the things that we've done.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that to tie it back to Munify, is I've been in this space for years and years now. And the reason why Munify really appeals to me is because I wanted an app that would allow me to invest better. That's what I wanted. I wanted a platform that would really allow me to invest better. And Munify is the app. It is the app for me personally, because the way I see Munify is it's a blank slate.
Yep.
And there are all the tools that I would want to have had available to me over the past couple of years. They can be built out through this app. And it's super exciting to me to, be able to share my opinion with you and say, oh, that's a cool idea. And maybe, and have this kind of back and forth because, I feel like I have a lot of insights into, how crypto Twitter has been over the years, the things that could have been better, the things that didn't work, the things that do work.
Well,
and it's cool to be able to...
I feel like the reason why you and so many other content creators and what we're doing with the Citadel and the council and everything, the reason why you're so critical is every social platform has been engineered and built for how do we get people to engage on here, right? And if you don't know what addictive algorithms are, go look them up. But these systems are built for how do we get people talking about politics, sports, comedy, whatever it may be on our platform. Munify is solely engineered from the perspective of how do we create the best financial education, right? And it's not a traditional education. It's learning from people who have been there. How do we build tools? How do we engineer this to create a more efficient communication and give you the tools to succeed? Not how do we get you addicted to our platform, right? And so, that's why it's so critical to us where having, guys like you, and like I was saying, the council, the Citadel, all these content creators, the input is critical because you have the ideas for the tools where it's like, man, if I had this, it would make it easier for me to explain these ideas to, these followers. Or from the follower perspective, if we had this tool, it'd be easier for me to tap into, Dreadbongo's mind so that I can really see what he's saying. And so,
it's that the tool is having the tools that work for both sides of the equation, right? So like we were saying earlier, you know, I could talk about a project. You have no idea what my time frame is. I have no idea what your time frame is. We're talking at completely different angles here, but it's having the tools available where, you know, if I'm talking about a project within the app itself, without me saying this is blah blah blah, I like this project, this time frame is over a couple of years, right? And having to say that on every single fucking post to explain it to every single person. But being able to, if I'm going to put a post about a project and being able to tag the time frame and say, you know, this is about years. I can click the button and say, this is a yearly time frame. This is a monthly time frame. This is a weekly time frame. And having it built in the app so they know what I'm talking about and what my time frame is. And I know that I can communicate that to them with actually having to communicate it. There's something special about that. And then you can do this with across so many different concepts across the app. And you could build the tools in that it takes both sides and they can both look at it and understand what each other is talking about. And that is what I like about Munify. And that's really what we've been missing. It's really what we've been missing over the past, you know.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you saying it and to everybody watching.
And I've said to you, if this app was shit, I would tell you it's shit.
You absolutely would. And to be honest, guys, he has on certain things where it's like, hey, let's just cut it straight, you know, and that's why it's awesome. But, you know, I think the biggest thing is what Dread and I are getting excited about is we know what's being built and what's on the horizon. And I know there's some ambiguity and obscurity for you guys, but you know, big, exciting things coming. Dread, thanks for joining. I got to hop off to this other meeting, but this is not a one-time thing, guys. We're going to keep doing these. We're going to keep sharing. As you can probably tell, I love to talk. This is like a really nice way for me to decompress from all the stresses of building a company, having, you know, one time a week. And so I come to talk, Dread comes to drop alpha bombs, and we appreciate it. But any last things you got to say, man? Oh, someone just asked, does it require KYC? It's a traditional social media. You can buy it on, or you don't buy it, excuse me. You can download it on Google Play or the App Store. We sign up with your email address, put whatever username you want, whatever name, and join us on Munify. Got a good community building.
And, you know, it's already in a great state, but just know that this is the first build, and Steve shared some stuff with me about what's coming, and I'm excited, man. I'm truly excited about it. It's going to be cool to watch this grow. It's
an awesome foundation, but it's nowhere near what we're building for. And like I said, got some of the dev team here right in front of me, ready to talk about it. So appreciate it, guys.
Get off the call, Taylor. Get off the call.
The podcast isn't going to build the app. So, all right. Appreciate it. We'll do it again.